What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So, breaking down some final roster moves before we play the Giants. We've elevated two players. One, wide receiver Malik Taylor. The second, an offensive lineman, more of a guard, in Xavier Newman. So, it's interesting, right? Xavier Newman makes a lot more sense. He has the versatility to play left guard, right guard. He's had 45 plus games of experience over his career, and we know we're hurting that guard, right? We haven't got confirmation of what's going on with Joe Tippmann and the actual extent and longevity of the issue, which we know is most likely pertaining to his quad area. But we don't know the length of time we may be seeing him missing, if IR is a real discussion. We've heard he's a quick healer, etc. Either way, we don't really have a ton of depth at guard. We have, with Joe Tippmann going out, Elijah Vera Tucker going out, we're looking at Wes Schweitzer, Laken Tomlinson on two sides, and then we don't really have anybody else. So elevating someone like Xavier Newman to kind of help fill in a couple spot starts or spot snaps, I should say, makes a ton of sense. The head-scratching decision for me more so is wide receiver Malik Taylor. Now, nothing against him. Another veteran in the league, 25-plus games of experience now. And keep in mind, he kind of jump-started this turnaround that we've seen with Zach Wilson, right? He was the first player to really catch a huge pass from Zach Wilson during the preseason, our Hall of Fame game versus the Browns. I think it was a 57, 54-yard or something like that. But nonetheless, he's not going to stand out from a crowd, right? He brings some size. He brings a little bit of deceptive speed. But I can't pinpoint anything where I'll tell you we could take advantage of this in this room. And so taking a look at what's going to essentially be a reworked wide receiver room at some point, right? Whether that's a trade addition that we bring in or we still want to utilize what we have in-house. We let go of Mecole Hardman. We talked a bunch about Randall Cobb taking a back seat. And so you're taking a look at a new starting three, right? Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard. You would assume, based on Robert Saleh's comments about why they went with Xavier Gibson over Mecole Hardman, Gibson becomes our new slot receiver and our returner for both kicks and punts. And then you kind of need that fourth guy, right, that you can also still expect to step up. And right now you'd have to make the argument that it should have been Jason Brownlee that was activated. Maybe there's still time for that. We'll see what all actually happens on game day. But right now you would assume that probably goes to Malik Taylor, right? I think the only other receiver that's generally active on the roster right now is Irvin Charles, and we love him more for his special teams ability than what he can go out there and actually produce, excuse me, as a wide receiver right now. So if you wanted some juice, you wanted some pop, you wanted an interesting storyline versus the Giants, unless we also hear that they activate Jason Brownlee for this game, it's not really going to happen. And it's not the end of the world. Again, maybe we'll see him in the next week or two. I would expect some changes, up to or right after the trade deadline for us, no matter what we do in terms of making a move or not. But it's just some food for thought, something to think of. What would be the purpose of choosing someone like Malik Taylor over Jason Brownlee unless they still feel like there's something that Jason Brownlee hasn't quite honed in on and been able to show consistently, which, we love what he showed in the preseason, but I'm not mad at it. The Jets have shown they actually have a reward system in place, at least more recently, right? I've criticized a few moves, but we've seen Joe Tippmann not just get handed the starting role, and you'd have to imagine the presence of Zach Wilson really exacerbates that conversation when the coaches are meeting about it. So if Jason Brownlee isn't ready, he isn't ready. Granted, that does mean does that mean that we were wrong about him? Not at all. But it does raise some questions about. I wouldn't say that he can't outbeat Irvin Charles, right? I think that's probably already been proven from what we heard before. He's obviously beaten out Malik Taylor since he made the roster over him as well. But I think, again, most likely there's just some consistency issues, especially since he's not going to be a special teamer that they would like to see ironed out. But couldn't hurt to go with the guy that you expect to be on the roster long-term over a guy like Malik Taylor. So nonetheless, some other quick moves. We did get the great news that DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner cleared concussion protocol. They're healthy. We're going to see them back against the Giants. And one of the comments that I love seeing, and I wanted want to say I heard Boy Green and Gunny talking about this on the live show maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And the question was, even if they weren't healthy, who were they generally going to cover on the Giants, where they're devoid of big name talents or anybody that's even produced multiple solid or big games on their roster? You take a look at Darren Waller, and then it's really anybody else, right? Darren Waller, Saquon Barkley, and so it's great news for the Jets. We should expect a ironclad defense against the Giants and enjoy a game where we're not, sitting on the edge of our seats close to the final minutes of the end of the fourth quarter. And then we do have another interesting active roster addition. Earlier in the week, we had Jarrick Converse, our day 3 pick, cornerback safety hybrid. He dealt with some injuries earlier on. We actually never really got to see him during the offseason. He ended up being in a walking boot for quite some time, and I can't remember exactly if that happened on the field or some kind of off-the-field incident, but I think it happened between minicamp and us going into training camp. But nonetheless, haven't really seen him. He has been practicing since October 4th. Again, has that safety cornerback experience. If DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner weren't going to play, I would have imagined that we see JBC, come in as a cornerback, maybe get utilized in some combo safety packages back there. But now it seems very unlikely. He's probably going to end up being a healthy scratch, pending any kind of last-minute issues that come up on the field, right? But right now, we have our rookies, right? A bunch of roster gymnastic moves were made, but, we have Carter Warren, we have JBC. I think Zaire Barnes is still on the 53 right now, too, but basically we have our rookie class there. They're either on the practice squad or on the roster, and they're healthy and actives right now. So not the worst case scenario. It'll be interesting to see if we ever get them on the field for any significant amount of time this season. But don't expect to really see JBC at this point with the DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner injury news. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Malik Taylor, but let me know what your guys' thoughts are, any expectations you have for this Giants game. I'll catch you again. Peace.